The announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade was a curious one for me. Beyond the chance to see the visual splendor of Remake in higher fidelity, the idea of new single-player DLC was exciting. It's a practice that seems to have fallen by the wayside. Bite-sized expansions that can tide over the weight to a next installment or just provide another glance into the world created is something I wish we'd see more of, especially in the realm of JRPGs. But DLC for JRPGs doesn't have the best history, especially ones from Square. Usually just extra boss battles or very limited run-throughs of reused environments. Sometimes it feels like your thirst for more would be better served with an actual sequel. With the price of admission including the need to have a PS5 and covering 7 expanded universe material, there was some cause for concern. 7 Remake was strong when it gave modern touches to established material, less so when it ventured into its own thing. Making nods to Dirge of Cerberus may excite the faithful, but not enough to blind me to the fact that some of the material in that game was straight up dumb. Still, with the main obstacle cleared, the thirst for more 7 Remake material could be clinched. Intergrade follows Utai Ninja Yuffie Kisaragi, perhaps one of the best choices to center something that is a literal expansion, as Yuffie and Utai are actual optional material in the original PS1 game. As a kid, I'm pretty sure I failed to recruit her, and I sure haven't played the mobile phone games that influenced the depiction of Avalanche here. Yet in Remake, the Midgar and Utai conflict is poised to take a bigger role in the story, as is the expansion of Avalanche. It's these two ideas that frame the adventure of Yuffie. So Yuffie's perspective offers a good point to expand on the expanded world of Remake. Here we find the self-described expert ninja infiltrating Midgar to steal Shinra's ultimate materia, aided by another less extreme Avalanche cell in Utai expat Sonen Kusakabe. They cross paths with Shinra CEO Scarlet and the mysterious deep-ground edgelord Nero. This is a story made more to set the stage than to provide anything of real substance. You do not find a real character arc for Yuffie, just instead hints of her backstory and groundwork for her future. If anything, this is just an introduction to Yuffie. Sonen's story is pretty typical and obvious, yet the interaction between these two feels genuine and continues Remake's fun character writing. It is the inclusion of certain aspects of the story here that stop it from feeling irrelevant. While they are small details, there's no doubt aspects of Sonen's backstory and his connection to Yuffie will show up when the main cast arrives in Utai. The deep ground soldiers don't move past feeling like cameos, despite their masterful rendering of their hot topic infused edginess. It's impossible to glean from their depiction here if Remake will improve their reputation. Yet it's intriguing to know that they are part of this world and at least graphically live up to Remake standards. This isn't must-see content, but it does add to the possibilities of what Remake can do, and it's worthwhile. What really makes it worthwhile though is the combat. Remake's combat was already a strong melding of action and tactical, taking influence from 13's stagger system and putting emphasis on using abilities to create stagger in enemies, with the more button-mashy aspect of action combat serving the role of making those abilities available. It felt less like a dumbed-down action game and instead like Square finally figuring out action combat in the realm of a JRPG. Since you really only control Yuffie and can only issue commands through Sonon, it pares away some of the options, replacing some control with aspects that further remind me of Final Fantasy XIII. Here you can make it so you synergize with him, where he attacks with the same tactics as you. Focusing on magic to stagger an enemy, synergize so that he switches to magic as well. It reminds me of the paradigm system of 13, where you would switch in between roles to quickly stagger enemies. Yuffie's playstyle is also unique, entailing the throwing of her weapons to switch between melee and ranged attacks. So the battle system now feels like it has a constant switching between roles, and that is an interesting dynamic that I hope returns in Remake Episode 2. Yet, since it's still a DLC, it's a truncated adventure, and while the game features a complete progression system for both characters, it can feel a bit pointless for the main campaign's challenge. It all feels like it's on fast forward, and progression doesn't feel as rewarding or involved. Best to just focus on what makes the character the strongest. Even with that said, the combat still feels strong and unique from the main game. The world though is mostly going through the same feeling linear, industrialized Midgar environments, which, while they look good, don't offer too many glimpses into something we haven't already seen. That's perhaps the main aspect that DLC doesn't really surpass other JRPG offerings. Not too many reused environments, but nothing that feels memorable or beyond the main game. Linear and structured the same way the main game was. The Intergrade DLC may not be required viewing, but it's not a worthless addition to the Remake project. Instead, it's another reassurance that the Remake project is in good hands. More of the same perhaps, but showing that Square is still on the right path. I'm Jojo Sonoshi, and for more unsolicited takes, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.